Now, today we have a guest who has spent years sitting across the table, right from CEOs, CIOs, supply chain heads, CFOs, and business leaders. And a lot of the people who will be watching this podcast think that success is all about having the best product. But is it true? Mr. Ramakant, after everything that you have seen so far, do companies really win because they have the best solution or because they understand how decisions are actually made?
Rishikesh, if the best product always won, the enterprise landscape would look completely different. The truth is, the team that is able to best navigate the internal friction at the buying organization wins. In my 20 plus of years of experience, I have seen mediocre products win because the team knew exactly how to navigate the internal friction of the buying organization. And I have seen world-class technology die on the vine because the founders assumed that the product would speak for itself. A great solution is just your ticket to entry. Winning requires understanding how the solution addresses the requirements, how budget flows, who holds the ultimate veto power, and how the decisions are socialized when the vendor leaves the room. When you are selling a multi-million dollar solution, you aren't just competing against another vendor. You are competing against no decision and internal inertia. A brilliant product solves a technical problem, but understanding how decisions are made solves the human problem, which is alignment, budget navigation, and risk mitigation.
Ramakant, most of the times people also say, especially people who are into enterprise sales and all those stuff, they say that, they kind of never get access to enterprise decision making. And that is one of the reasons why most of the deals, fall flat. So what actually happens behind the doors when a company is evaluating a major technology investment, sir?
Behind the closed doors, the conversation is rarely about features, metrics, or at any technical specifications. It is almost entirely about the alignment and risk management. The stakeholders there are asking themselves the two unwritten questions. One, the risk mitigation. What if this fails? What is our internal preparedness to handle the transfer? Second, how does this associate with our immediate corporate priorities? It becomes a highly balancing act of aligning the corporate growth KPIs while they're trying to drive the innovation.
And who has the more influence? Like, is it the CEO or the CFO or the business leaders who owns the problem?
It is a classic corporate triad. The business leader owns the heart, but the CFO owns the pain. The CEO sets the vision, strategic vision. The business leader drives the initial urgency because they are filling the daily operational pains. But the CFO act as an ultimate risk manager and gatekeeper to the capital. As a seasoned partner, you should quickly learn that you must arm the business leader with a bulletproof economic business case so that they can successfully defend the investments to the CFOs.
Right. So, suppose there's an enterprise sales leader where, to whom he should focus more. He should focus more initially on the business leader, or he should parallelly run the show with the CFO and the business leader and the CEO. How should he go about it?
See, enterprise selling is an orchestration. So he should parallelly, he's attending the business leaders to understand his pain areas and trying to address through the solution. He should also focus on the other stakeholders who has the veto power, who's who's spending budgets from his pocket. What is the strategic vision or a direction from the management? So it's a kind of running a kind of a orchestra. You have to focus on important equally on the all the aspects.
Got it. And, we have also seen is that, some of the enterprise projects or, get approved immediately within 3, 4 days or maybe a week. And while others get stuck for months, where is the problem, sir? Like, what are the problems that are there at the back end?
See, the projects don't usually stall because a competitor swooped in. They get stuck in what I call is a no decision limbo. This happens when the perceived risk of making change feels greater than the pain of sticking to the status quo. If a deal gets stuck for months, it is normally because the vendor has failed to build the compelling case for the cost of doing nothing. When an executive team feels uncertain, their default defense mechanism is always on a
Right. So cost of perceived, risk of change is lesser than, kind of continuing that pain of continuing the same process. And I think that is where the enterprise sales leaders should emphasize upon while they're communicating with the client is that why is this, cost of not taking up the solution is far more as compared to continuing with the existing process. And that is where most of them fail also, sir, because, they kind of keep on talking about the features and all those things and they forget to, take the perspective of the client while they're communicating with them.
Right. So always talking about feature functionality will not get you there. It is how you are addressing the risk. It is a risk mitigation case from both sides.
Right. Sir, many a times, in India, people also say that Hindi mein bolein sab khane pine ka काम है. And I'm going to be very frank over here because I'm talking to a very serial enterprise leader. And I want people to listen to your views कि जो ज़्यादा खिलाता है उसको डील मिल जाती है. Is it really correct, sir? मतलब ये जो perception एक market में है, means every sales leader will find out excuse by telling this to his boss. कि सर आपको पता है उसने ज़्यादा पैसे खिला दिए इसलिए वो जीत गया, मेरी कोई गलती नहीं है. What are your views on this, sir?
No. This is a misconception. Exceptionally, it might have happened in certain situations or certain. Look at this way. See, every product needs a different sales treatment. We're talking about enterprise sales, which is a consultative selling, and every sales situation is different and an experience in itself. And it comes with the learning. Whether you win or lose, it comes with the learning. The normal conception that people have is like, sales guys, they are successful because he's going and like, dining at a flashy restaurant with some stakeholders, or he's playing golf with somebody. It's not always that. It is a trust that the salesperson builds with the organization, and it comes with that. So normally the best sales people that I have come across, they are the best trust advisors to
Yes.
to their customers.
Yes.
And how do you play that role? Like, is helping you like, be more successful or be at it consistently.
That is true, sir. And also, when we talk of India, a lot of the young people, young, professionals have a lot of misconceptions about sales, especially since India has been a country of B2C stuff more, like, where people talk about edtechs and all these other platforms where you have to cold call people, you have to sell them. And why I'm asking you this question is because I also want a lot of young people to come into enterprise sales, so that misconception should be busted. But when it comes to enterprise sales, it's a different ball game altogether, sir, as compared to what is B2C all about. So would you like to touch upon a few misconceptions people have about sales?
True. Let's talk about it. And different, as I mentioned, different product needs a different sales treatment or are sold differently. For example, if someone knocks at the door and then he wants to sell the socks or some consumables, he being a flashy and like non-stop talking or influential, how he presents himself would get him a sale. But that's not always true about the enterprise selling. We are here talking about, so in enterprise selling, the experts from both sides, they kind of discuss together the business area challenges, how it is best addressed with the solution, what is a kind of a risk mitigation that they're talking about internally and externally also. The biggest myth today, normally people carry is like the great sales professionals are fast talking, charismatic extroverts, who can sell ice to the Eskimos. In high stakes enterprise sales, the old school persona, like that what we are talking about, actually breeds immediate distrust. True enterprise commerce isn't only about pitching. Yes, you may get an entry or initial audience, but actually it is an exercise in deep curiosity, extreme listening, and complex project management skills that will ensure that you will be in the race for that solution evaluation.
Right. And is it a highly rewarding job? Like people can earn good amount of money if they pursue their career in enterprise sales?
Yes. A lot of companies, they have this structure called variable or incentives. And if somebody is like, is successful at it consistently, there's a lot amount of professional, good amount of potential to earn a lot of money. Sometimes they can earn like multifolds of their annual salaries. The incentive structure is so there is no limit to it that way.
Sir, we also see that, many times the most talented sales professionals, they struggle while average performers consistently win. Why is it like that?
Because talent in sales is often equated with the individual charisma. The point that we are talking about, that the being a flashy sales guy. But charisma doesn't scale. A lone wolf might close a transactional deal on personality basis, but the enterprise sales is a team sport, and then it takes like normally 6 to 12 months. The professionals who are consistently win, they are disciplined, process driven orchestrators. They treat the deal like a joint transformation project, and they know how to align their own product, legal, and engineering teams with the client's counterparts.
Yes. So being an enterprise sales professional, you need to be a team player, even if you are in an individual contributor role, because you have to get a lot of things done by your team. Say the technical review, or say the compliance documents, or even say the finances part. A lot of things have to be done. It's
True.
unlike the B2C sales where you just kind of call somebody, subscribe him, and your work is done.
Correct.
It's far more
Correct.
complex, and this is what
Far
Sir
more.
was telling you about.
Yes. The
And
the
also,
solution
sir,
also
yeah.
solution is also sold sometimes on proof of value.
Hmm.
So normally what happens is in enterprise sales, wherever it is possible, the vendor seeks customer data and model it on their solution to see how it and see give customer a simulated environment to see that how it pans out, how the user looks at it, how the stakeholder looks at it, how the CFO or management looking at how how the solution is coming out, how they are addressing the solution is being addressed, is addressing their requirements. So it's kind of a structured game. It's in like team sport. So structure beats raw talent every single time.
That is so important, sir. And that is also a thing in life as well, sir. Like, I've seen people who are disciplined enough, they follow a structure and they keep on repeating it, sir, every day. They are far more successful as compared to, somebody who comes with a lot of talent, lot of mind, lot of thing involved. So many times, guys, many times, all the times, I think, and I think sir will agree with this, is that boring stuff leads to more success. Now, to keep on doing the same thing again and again, suppose you have to call 10 people, you call 10 people every day, you don't miss out on that, and you will ultimately end up closing those sales as well. Sir, you have seen some of the smartest organizations in the country, and I'm going to talk from the other side of the things, but many a times what you will see is that these large companies still make very poor decisions. Why do you think this basically happens?
Intelligence at an individual level doesn't automatically translate to intelligence at an organizational level. Large companies make poor decisions primarily because of siloed data, bureaucratic insulation. The people on the front lines who feel the operational pains every day rarely have a voice in the board. Meanwhile, the executives signing the checks are often looking at the polished, aggregated dashboards that may mask the actual friction. When you decouple decision making power from operational reality, bad choices are inevitable. And that's the factor, I think, is when the large companies sometimes we think that they're making a poor decision.
Yes. And what are the common blind spots that you see in the leadership team, sir, like while they're taking such decisions?
Okay, let's talk about blind spots. Let's talk about three factors in this: the scale, the blind spots, and the success track. Sometimes scale also acts as an obstacle. Scale almost universally makes decision making slower. It introduces consensus culture, where trying to make everyone happy results in watered down or late to market decision. The blind spots, leadership blind spot. Let's talk about it. The most common blind spot is confirmation bias, looking only at metrics that prove current strategies are working while ignoring grassroots operational friction or shifting customer behavior. Another massive blind spot is understanding the internal friction of adoption. So leaders frequently buy a vision or a software solution thinking that the technology will solve the problem completely, while forgetting that if their middle management or a frontline staff resists using it, the investment is dead on the arrival.
Hmm.
Then the success track. When an organization starts thinking that this is the way we've always done it, they become the prime targets for disruption. Also, can success sometimes become an obstacle for future growth? Absolutely. In fact, yesterday's success is often the single biggest threat to tomorrow's growth. Success breeds complacency and a false sense of security. The best leaders that I've worked with, they treat success as a temporary state, maintaining a healthy sense of permanence.
Yes. And that is why, these leaders are good at handling disruptions as well. Because, 20 years ago, sir, leaders used to worry about efficiency. Now they worry about disruption. So would you like to touch upon a few qualities which successful leaders should have over the next decade in order to be really successful?
True. 20 years ago, leadership was primarily about an exercise in optimization. It was about supply chain refinement, cost cutting, and predictable linear growth. Today, efficiency is just table stakes. The modern executives has to lead through the continuous non-linear disruption. You can
Yes.
no longer rely on a static 5-year plan. Leadership has always shifted from being a game of perfect planning to a game of dynamic adaptability. the ability to pivot an entire organizational culture on a dime without breaking it.
Yes. And you've got such a diverse experience, sir, actually. You have worked with banking, telecom, manufacturing, retail, logistics, and supply chain organizations. What is that one common, what are a few common patterns that you see across all these industries, if you look back?
Yeah, good question and a good observation also. Let me share my experience with this. So whether I was looking at a legacy core banking system early in my career or a chaotic warehouse floor, on the surface, selling to a tier one bank looks completely different from working with a manufacturing plant or a logistics provider. But once you pull back the industry specific jargons, human behavior and organizational friction are exactly the same everywhere. Every single industry struggles with exactly the same three things. So these three things are data silos, where departments don't talk to each other,
Yes.
internal resistance to change, where middle management quietly sabotages new initiatives to protect their comfort zones, and third, the communication gap between the executive vision in the boardroom and the reality of the frontline execution. The next decade will belong to the leaders who possess two distinct traits. One is the high contextual intelligence, and second, radical empathy. When I say
Yes.
contextual intelligence, it is the ability to look at macroeconomic or a technological trends and instantly understand the micro implications for your specific business operations.
Yes.
The radical empathy is no longer a soft skill. It is a hard commercial necessity. In the world of hybrid work, burnouts, and rapid changes, leaders who cannot authentically connect with and motivate and protect their people with will simply lose the best talent to the competitions who are doing so.
Now, sir, I will take you back in your career. So, when you look back at your career, were the biggest wins driven by strategy, relationships, or persistence?
So if I have to choose, it's a combination of persistence and relationships. Strategy is what you get, gets a seat at the table. It is a ticket to entry. But enterprise deals don't close on paper; they close because of human commitment. When a multi-million dollar project faces a critical implementation bottleneck or an unexpected budget freeze mid-deal, strategies won't save you. What saves you is a deep, persistent trust that you've built with the stakeholders, knowing that you will stand by them in the trenches until the problem is solved. And sometimes relationship building is also a part of strategy.
Mm. And what is that one career lesson that you wish you knew at 25?
Okay, if I would tell my 25-year-old self, I would tell, like, slow down. You don't need to win every argument to win the deal. I was the one who's like, sometimes I am in a situation that I would not let customers speak, but I have learned over the period. So when you are young, you rely heavily on logic, data, and trying to prove that you're the smartest person in the room. But I've learned that building a reputation for integrity and active listening takes decades. Yet it can be destroyed in 5 minutes of short-sighted, desperate pushing. The focus should
Yes.
be on the long game.
Guys, sir, one belief you had early in your career that has changed completely now.
So early on, I genuinely believed that logic and superior data won enterprise deals. I thought if my business case was flawless, the client would naturally buy. Today, I know that data only justifies what a human being has already decided to do emotionally. Enterprise buyers make decisions based on trust, psychological safety, and alignment with their peer groups.
Hmm.
These spreadsheets and charts are simply the tools that they use to defend the decision
Yeah.
to the rest of the organization later.
Right. So now a rapid fire round. You have to answer that within one line.
I try my
First
best.
one, biggest business myth.
That the customer is always right. Sometimes
That's
the
right.
customer doesn't know what they actually need until an expert
Yes.
shows them what's possible. So they need sometimes an education. So we need to be educating our customers.
This negotiation that you have faced so far.
Many, but the situations where there was a like a big deal on the table or a renewal, and the client has changed their decision makers or leadership team in, like, just a month ago before the final signing. So you have to rebuild the trust from zero on a deadline. That's
Most underrated business skill, sir.
deep active listening without waiting for your turn to speak. Most people listen to respond, but true
Yes.
professional listen to understand.
One book every leader should read.
There are many, but if you call it out, Thinking Fast and Slow by Daryl Kahneman, or The Challenger Sale for Commercial Strategy. These are the for best to understand the understanding the decision bias. However, if someone talks to a sales leader who has spent enough time on the field, talking to him and learning from his experience is also like equal to reading a book.
Sir, AI is an opportunity or distraction?
It's an incredible opportunity for strategy and scale, but a dangerous distraction for those who are looking for a lazy shortcuts.
One thing young professionals should stop doing right away.
Hiding behind emails, Slack, or text messages. Pick up the phone, or better yet, meet the people face to face. Real
Absolutely,
business
sir.
happen in conversations.
Yes. One thing leaders should start doing now.
Spending more time, more unstructured time on the front lines, listening directly to the junior staff and actual customers.
And now the closing one, sir, is that you have spent more than 2 decades helping organizations solve complex business problems. When everything changes, right from technology, markets, industry, what is that one principle about business that remains timeless?
Rishikesh, when you strip away the shifting technology, the evolving markets, and the latest buzzwords, business is and always will be a human to human aid. Companies don't buy things, people do. People buy from people they trust to solve problems they care about, to protect their teams, and to achieve their goals that matters to them. If you master the human element, if you lead with integrity, deep empathy, and absolute clarity, you will remain completely bulletproof no matter how much the world has changed around you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ramakant, for joining us on this podcast and sharing all these insights. Must tell, very candid discussion. And this is the first time on Dawdle.live podcast after doing 800 plus sessions is that we have talked around enterprise sales. And I want more and more young people inside India to come into this domain. And this is also one of the reasons that we brought in a serial enterprise leader on this platform. And I think Sir will also agree that a lot of young Indians should come and join enterprise sales. You should not have misconceptions about sales. Sales is a very beautiful job. It's a very beautiful job. And trust me, salespeople, enterprise salespeople, they earn more than anybody else. If you're a good enterprise salespeople. So even if you're thinking about money, product head, CFO, whatever it is, but a sales manager, an enterprise sales manager, if he's good at, I'm talking just about the manager person, his takeaway is sometimes more than even the CFO salary. So think of it, develop those skills, and all the leaders can reach out to Mr. Ramakant for any guidance relating to their growth, to any strategy that they're looking for to develop along with him for driving business for their organizations. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us and taking.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.